everyone. Welcome to Learn Pediatric Boards. During today's presentation, I'm going to talk about my study journey, my goals in creating this course, what resources to use to study for the pediatric boards, and the method of board studying that worked for me. So why me? Well, I actually did poorly on step one. I performed below average on that exam, and I really struggled with studying for it. And I don't think I ever really figured out a study style that worked for me. And I don't think the continuous exam after exam after exam schedule every 2 weeks that I had during my first year of medical school allowed me to find my study system. So when it came to studying for the pediatric boards, I knew that I wanted to guarantee myself to pass the exam instead of just barely passing. So I stopped believing in cutting corners. This was very important for me. I spent a lot of my free time in residency finding a study system that worked for me. I ended up easily passing the exam and performed above average on the pediatric boards exam. I'm not the kind of genius person who can listen or read something once and remember it in the future for exams, but in a way, I think that my struggles with exam taking actually makes me feel like I know better of how to give guidance on passing the boards. Now, there are so many difficulties with studying for the boards exam. There are just so many resources out there that give out so much information because hypothetically, these tests can test you on whatever they want to. Because these resources feel like they have to be comprehensive, they give learners all the information instead of being straightforward, telling you what you really need to know. Another difficult part with board studying is that, especially in pediatrics, there are some areas of medicine that are just plain rote memorization. And for myself, I found that the difficult part with rote memorization is that what you've memorized now still gets forgotten 2 to 3 weeks later if you don't continue repeating that information to yourself, which is basically impossible if you've moved on to another topic to study and learn. And then when I did want to relearn a topic, I felt like I would have to reread the whole chapter or lecture. I felt like the struggles and difficulties I had with exam studying probably lots of other people deal with too, so I wanted to start my own course. My main goals for this course is to have a source of compiled information that is focused on the need to know for pediatric boards. My other goals for this course is that I want my resource to feel organized, hopefully, even though I feel like each individual's personal idea of what organized means can differ. And I want to hopefully in the future have cheat sheets for people to have as a way to quickly review high-yield topics instead of having to peruse through whole chapters once again. I also want to underline the extremely high-yield parts during the lectures and the handouts. I truly believe that the most important thing for learners to do is distinguish what you know and what you don't know. I think understanding this line of what you know and what you don't know is important even in the clinical setting, because when you understand this line, it requires you to self-reflect on what your knowledge is and to help you realize when you need to ask for help or learn more. This study source I view as a straightforward guide, but it's not the source to use to truly learn and understand a concept. Like I said, I don't believe in cutting corners, so I would really recommend to not use this as the only study source, but instead as the first or the last source in your study plan. So how I studied for the pediatric boards is, I believe that if you're someone who doesn't quite know what study method works for you, that you should have one book resource, one video resource, and one question bank, so that you have a variety of ways that you are learning a topic, so that it makes you think about a topic in different ways. My primary resource for studying was MedStudy. I find MedStudy to be a very comprehensive resource, and I think having a comprehensive resource that doesn't try to just summarize topics is important, and it's a great source to use to truly learn pediatric medicine, and it doesn't try to shortchange you on learning. They have flashcards and videos, both of which are decent, and I've used them, but I've used all the 3 resources, the books, the flashcards, and the videos, and the books are definitely the best ones to use. The videos are fine if you don't enjoy reading, but the videos really don't do as well of a job on teaching on the topics as the books do. And then the question bank that I used was TrueLearn, only because that's the one that was provided by my residency program. And then I completed the AAP prep questions each year that the banks came out. The way I use these resources is that while I was studying through the med study books, I took notes of information in documents in a Google Drive. So I like having the notes in Google Drive. That way I can access the information while I was at work in case a topic came at work and I wanted to read up on it. And then over the years, I added to those notes in the Google Drive things that I learned from other resources and clinicals. I like doing this because then I could organize the medical information in a way that my brain could follow. I felt like I had a reliable resource to fall back on when a topic came up that I had already forgotten. I almost felt like this Google Drive of information was an extension of my knowledge. Sometimes there were times when I thought I was learning something new, but then when I went back to look at my notes in my Google Drive document, I would realize I already took notes on that information. And I found that trigger of realizing I've already learned this before really helpful for me to understand what topics needed repetition. It's something that worked for me during my residency and studying. I also started to underline or highlight the parts that were frequently tested on quizzes so that when I reread my notes, I would know what parts to focus on rereading and repeating in my brain. And this rereading and repeating and knowing what the high yield information was key for me to be able to target my studying. Eventually, before the actual exam, I took the information that I found was hardest for me to remember and was really just plain rote memorization for me, and put that information in one document so that I could just focus on those hard to remember facts the few days leading up to the exam. Alright, so I hope this is helpful for what I think are the best resources and what study method worked for me, to see if any of these ideas can help you. Let me know in the comments what other resources and study methods work for you. If you want to see my future videos as they come out, make sure to subscribe. In my future videos, I'm going to go through each topic and point out the high yield need-to-know information for the boards. Remember to like, subscribe, or hit the notification button, and if you have any feedback, let me know in the comments. Happy studying! Bye!